like, wait, let's address that or add that the motive that the system implements is due to the control over the masses. All right. So the point that I was making is okay. We can touch on the controversial influence that the system implements to cause or provoke a division between both men and women. All right. And in doing so, I'm going to read the last part first, and then go into the actual to just delve more into why. You know what I'm saying? But let's touch this first because I feel like this is a touching point. I think I might start this off with here.
Absolutely. The underlying motive of promoting division often stems from a desire to maintain control over the masses. When people are divided, especially along foundational lines like gender, they become easier to influence and manage. This divide and conquer tactic is a long-standing method for maintaining social order and control, as fragmented groups are less likely to unite in pursuit of broader social change. For example, by promoting ideas that pit men and women against each other, the system can distract from other underlying issues, such as economic inequality, systemic corruption, or a lack of shared resources. When people focus on their perceived grievances with one another, they may be less likely to challenge the structures that perpetuate these grievances in the first place. Moreover, fostering division reduces the collective power people have when they come together. If men and women remain at odds over societal roles, personal relationships, or workplace dynamics, they might spend more time in personal conflict rather than in shared movements toward equity and justice. In this way, the system benefits by maintaining a status quo where energies are diverted away from questioning or challenging the larger system itself. The end goal for these systems, often unconsciously embedded into various aspects of culture and policy, is to preserve their power and authority. By keeping men and women focused on their differences or reinforcing competition rather than cooperation, the system discourages a united front. Understanding this can empower people to look past the artificial divides and recognize the deeper forces at play, allowing them to reclaim unity and direct their energies toward broader, shared goals.
Let's get into it.
Certainly. The way modern systems or societal structures can influence divides between men and women is complex and often subtle. Media, social norms, economic pressures, and sometimes political rhetoric all play roles in shaping perceptions and expectations about gender roles, sometimes reinforcing stereotypes or misunderstandings. One way this occurs is through media portrayals that emphasize and sometimes exaggerate gender-based conflicts or misunderstandings. Repeated exposure to these portrayals can shape public perceptions, making it seem as if there's an inherent struggle between the sexes, which can discourage empathy and understanding. Similarly, advertising and marketing can subtly push people into narrowly defined gender roles, associating men with strength or success and women with beauty or caregiving, which can create pressure and unrealistic expectations on both sides. Economically, systems that create wage disparities or limit opportunities for certain genders can fuel frustration and resentment, often fostering an us versus them mentality. These dynamics can also create dependence or competition between genders rather than cooperation. Then there's social media, where curated content and echo chambers can amplify divisive messages. When people engage in discussions within narrow social bubbles, they often reinforce existing biases, leaving little room for alternative perspectives or genuine dialogue. This can heighten distrust between men and women, reducing the likelihood of finding common ground. While the structure and systems at play may be vast and multifaceted, awareness is the first step. By acknowledging these influences, individuals can foster a deeper understanding and appreciation for each other's unique challenges and contributions. Encouraging open dialogue, resisting stereotypes, and cultivating mutual respect can counter these divisive forces and support a balanced view of gender roles rooted in collaboration rather than competition.
All right, so I just come off a fast, and when I got back on the social media, or I got back on, and I started to realize, like, after this election, I start to see a trouble starting to arise. It's where now we see a lot of division become between the man and the woman. And I don't know, God just put something on my heart. But I really just thought to myself, beginning to write. And I was led to just express this piece here. So I'm gonna get chat to recite it and then give me its interpretation of what I intuitively, I guess, received. And I'm just trying to share this message and get it to be articulated the best way I can. But this was what was really on my heart to express due to the conflict between the sexes of man and woman right now. And I just see a detriment that shouldn't be. So I'm just gonna do my best to serve my part, or do my part in this matter, and just express it. So you guys just bear with me, and we're gonna take off from here.
Here's the message recited as you received it intuitively. Who is a woman without the man? And what is a man without his woes? For it is written, neither one is born without the other. Yes, as a man is to give, there is one, and whom is to receive. Do not be deceived by such an ego, for God yields one by the other, lest one thinks to be greater than the other. As the seed is nothing without the soil, and the soil is nothing without the seed. For by such a concise equity of God's favor, we yield to each other. And a garden makes known of our praise. Let not your egos trample upon the harvest of your children with thoughts to defy each other. For you know not the depths to the means of why God placed one before another. For out of the initiative a man is drawn, and out of such a place only he can be fit to draw such a vitalization/seed. But by such an impulse, a woman is brought to glory. For by such a bestowing of glory idea, only she can be fit to bear the radiance of. For God laid bare before her her subjections of disgust filth, much like the soil, only she found fitting to rest her mind. And by such an appraisal of him, she can only be moved by such a glory idea that derives from a knowing that is before knowing. Although her value is nothing less than a man, her will is written from the ink of humility, ruling her transcendence to only be found through him, likewise he transcending through her. Hence, we witness God expounding even now a love that was always equal, yet this love is still mistaken by the ego, of whom that proceeds to think that one can measure the initiative. There is not a knowledge an entity outside of God can bear that can reach such infinities. Verse by verse interpretation. 1. Who is a woman without the man, and what is a man without his woes? For it is written, neither one is born without the other. This suggests an inseparable link between man and woman, emphasizing that neither exists independently of the other's influence or purpose. Woes may signify the challenges or burdens men bear, which form part of their growth, much like women have their own defining experiences. In creation, both genders are interdependent, each born with a role that supports and shapes the other. 2. Yes, as a man is to give, there is one whom is to receive. Do not be deceived by such an ego, for God yields one by the other, lest one thinks to be greater than the other. This emphasizes the giving, masculine, and receiving feminine roles that are often portrayed symbolically. The ego might lead one to assume superiority, but the balance of giving and receiving is divinely orchestrated by God. Each is designed to fulfill the other's role, equal in value though different in action, reminding us that neither is greater than the other. 3. As the seed is nothing without the soil, and the soil is nothing without the seed. This image captures the idea that one part alone lacks purpose. Each element, seed and soil, needs the other to fulfill its potential. Just as seeds need soil to grow, men and women complete each other's purpose and potential through their union, symbolizing a natural balance of God's creation. 4. For by such a concise equity of God's favor, we yield to each other rock, and a garden makes known of our praise. Through this divine balance, both man and woman contribute to a harmonious garden, representing family, legacy, and life's beauty. Their complementary roles are expressions of God's favor, and the flourishing garden symbolizes their collective praise and devotion, realized through mutual respect and understanding. 5. Let not your egos trample upon the harvest of your children with thoughts to defy each other, for you know not the depths to the means of why God placed one before another. The ego's interference can lead to division, especially impacting children and future generations. The harvest. Here, the message is a warning against undermining each other, for the divine reasons behind gender roles and their sequencing are beyond human understanding. 6. For out of the initiative a man is drawn, and out of such a place only he can be fit to draw such a vitalization seed. But by such an impulse a woman is brought to glory. Man is depicted as possessing a divinely inspired initiative, positioned to provide or give the seed. Woman, in turn, finds her glory in this union by receiving and nurturing that vitalization. This dynamic of initiative and response glorifies both, showing how each contributes uniquely to a shared purpose. Number 7, for by such a bestowing of glory idea, only she can be fit to bear the radiance of. Woman is suited to bear and manifest this radiance, or the beauty and potential of life, as she takes the initial impulse and nurtures it into full expression. Her strength is in her ability to transform and manifest what is given, showing the value and dignity of her role. 8, for God laid bare before her her subjections of disgust filth, much like the soil, only she found fitting to rest her mind. Here, disgust refers to the challenging aspects of life or human imperfection that she, like the soil, works with and transforms. God places her before these aspects, perhaps to shape or test her humility, fortitude, and ability to find peace within them. This act of working through what she finds distasteful is also a form of spiritual appraisal, as she appraises and sanctifies that which is seemingly unworthy, revealing her unique strength. And by such an appraisal of him, she can only be moved by such a glory idea that derives from a knowing that is before knowing. Her response or appraisal of God's work, particularly in embracing and sanctifying what she finds difficult, is akin to a hymn or praise. This spiritual strength comes from a deep, intuitive wisdom that transcends surface-level knowledge, rooted in an ancient understanding, or a knowing before knowing. 10. Although her value is nothing less than a man, her will is written from the ink of humility, ruling her transcendence to only be found through him, likewise he transcending through her. Woman's strength is equal to man's, yet her nature is characterized by humility. Her transcendence, spiritual growth and fulfillment is found through her union with man, just as his transcendence is achieved through her. This reflects the idea that each gender's ultimate purpose and highest expression are realized in their harmonious union. 11. Hence, we witness God expounding even now a love that was always equal. Yet this love is still mistaken by the ego, of whom that proceeds to think that one can measure the initiative. God's love, displayed in the union of man and woman, is fundamentally equal, though it may appear otherwise to the ego, which tries to measure and elevate one aspect over the other. This love transcends comparison, and the desire to quantify or prioritize initiative is an ego-driven misinterpretation. 12. There is not a knowledge an entity outside of God can bear that can reach such infinities. Finally, human knowledge is limited in scope. Only God comprehends the full depth and complexity of divine love and creation. This infinite knowledge belongs solely to God, who sees beyond human understanding, placing each element of creation with purpose and balance. Summary. This message uses deep symbolism, blending ideas of humility, equality, and spiritual transcendence through unity. The depiction of woman's role in handling what may seem distasteful, working through it in a transformative, praiseworthy way, portrays a special strength and humility. The message cautions against ego-driven divisions that undermine mutual respect, pointing to a profound divine love that values and necessitates both genders in their unique, interdependent roles. In conclusion, this message aligns with a combination of spiritual truths and human experience, emphasizing that full understanding of these concepts remains in God's domain, beyond human perception or measurement.
I've realized and I've noticed that the people have been more conscious and awake now more than ever in history. Now more than ever, the men have been more conscious now more than ever in history. Now more than ever, the women have been more successful and influential, impactful, have more of a voice now more than ever in history. And I said all that to say, has anybody ever thought, have even acknowledged that the reason why we have got to this point was through our unity, for one, through our empathy, through our mutual respects for each other. We have the accessibility of knowledge now more than ever in history. I can't see how we can still be caught or ensnared by the usual propagandas, the old trickery promoted by the media, for one, because the segregation between man and woman is non-existent for real. Now more than ever, we have worked in unity better in history, in any time in history. I have never seen a better union between man and woman now before more than ever. Like, so something was on my heart to address, because there was one point to where I realized, just from a racial aspect, that I felt like the ignorance of us black men has caused our black women to become very traumatized, cosmeticized, and tarnished, and left them abandoned due to our ignorance. But it wasn't something that was really deliberate from us black men, because we were deprived. Deprivation was the main issue, that poverty. But now more than ever, I have never seen us black men more successful now more than ever. More of a voice more than ever. As well as black women. But being that I'm incarcerated, I felt like the reason why a lot of black men are still filling up the prisons is because of the abandonment of our woman, of the black woman. And fragment individualism is the issue. And that has caused a big detriment between us. But we have not lost respect and honor for our black women. Just speaking from a racial standpoint, because I'm a black man. And I come off a fast, and I figured that be best I address this, because not too many people probably had the courage to just be direct and be straightforward. I know there's a lot of pain going on because of us being men in our what you or women would call our lack to rationalize really. And we may lack in the discretion. And God is still molding us in our development and being able to apply more sensory in us progressing through the ages. But I just gotta address that this propaganda, this distraction, this preoccupation, is to take your sight off of our acceleration, because our unity, for real, and all these podcasts and us becoming more sensible with each other, coming to a better understanding within the people, all these podcasts have become a bridge to help both aspects, such as race, sex, you name it, and become a bridge for us to better mutually understand each other. So now our acceleration of being more aware is greater now more than ever. So why not create a social divide? Why not create a wedge, some type of diversion or conflict between the two of men and women? Create a preoccupation to better implement an aspect of control. Now, by July 1st of next year, there will be new laws implemented that people need to be aware of. Your authority has not been vacated. One thing about a human being, no matter what law is established by man, your authority to choose, your authority to choose will always be rightfully yours. So I don't want nobody to lose sight of that, because the yoke can be very uneasy. The subjection is real. But how you govern your house, along as well as your household. That's of your own dictation. No man can set your house in order and say this is how this is supposed to go and that's how that's supposed to go. Don't lose sight of that. And you are always free to choose. So, I know we can be binded by fear due to the subjections, and that could cause you to fall victim or prostitute yourself to a degree of appeasing or surrendering that right over to certain things. But I'm not promoting that a woman should take up abortion or killing a child. I'm not promoting these things, although you still have been given the right to choose. That's just the law of all things that God has bestowed upon us, such as free will. So I'm only addressing this because I don't want you to be so ensnared by lamenting for privileges when you have your right. You're placating to privileges when you already have your rights to choose. Whether you take up a moral standard or you choose not to. Now, we'll abide by the law. But if that goes against your morals, your dignity, the right principles as a human being, for one should not take a life, for one should not steal and take from someone, you understand? These are fundamental laws. This is the commandments in the Bible. It's simple. But just to love your brother as yourself is very simple to keep that law. It's not difficult. To treat people how you want to be treated, that's not difficult. And I'm only addressing this because you people are woke more than ever. We have been. We're waking up out of a slumber. So now that our unity is accelerating, we're coming to a better knowledge thereof. Alright? Stop being ensnared by by the misery people put on social media. A lot of people want to transcend their misery. They want to give off their misery into other people. But it's just their lack of communication. A lot of people don't know how to express their hurt. That's all it is. So now we go behind promoting destructive agendas that better placate and stimulate that type of misery that people have in heart. But the love and respect for each other is growing, and that just can't be stopped for real. So I just advise you guys to hold your head, keep pressing forward and loving each other, keep listening to each other, keep giving each other their ear, keep being more understanding about the hurt people have and why people hurt. And when you see the hurt, don't beat them down. People have reasons for why they agonize and they have the traumas. They have reasons for that. But continue to give an ear. Continue to be understanding. There's so much insight. There's so much growth gonna come out of it for our children. As you know, the seasons are not getting easier. As you know. Do well.